Welcome back once again to your number one source for education, information, inspiration, motivation, elation, all of those things, for really the most underrated career opportunity in business today. That's a career in the insurance industry. My name is ROD Powell. This is another edition of the You Should Get a License podcast edition. And today we have a very, very, very special guest who we're going to be conversing with. She is a certified financial education instructor from Akron, Ohio, but now residing in Houston, Texas. Just, a great advocate for this business, for financial literacy. In fact, she's on a national campaign to really drive that awareness amongst many people, throughout the country, really advocating for African-American community as well. Those who listen know that that's important to me also. And I'm excited to have her on because she's achieved a lot of success in a relatively short amount of time in this business, going on 10 years. She's been in the business for about 7 years. And we all have some other things in common too that we'll talk about. But I want to welcome to the You Should Get a License podcast today, Miss Toni Sanders. Toni, how are you doing today?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rod. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to share with you and your audience just a little bit about me and why I'm so passionate about our industry and about financial education and financial literacy. So it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Absolutely.
Well, look, it's a joy to have you on. As I mentioned, being a fan of, what you communicate on social media, you really make the content engaging. It's very fun. But on this platform, we really, kind of take it down to, all right, well, what does it mean? Especially with all of the different segmentations that we have in the insurance industry, in this business. So you are a certified financial education instructor. That is a phenomenal title, and I have an idea of what that means, but can you take a minute and just share with us what that really means and what you do on a day-to-day with the clients you have and the people that you serve?
Absolutely. So the titles, don't get all mixed up in all those titles, right? Just know that I educate people on a daily basis, 365 days a year, about their finances, about how money works, and how you can make your money work better for you. I always like to say this, Rod, that I want to make sure that I can empower and inspire before I expire. So I just want people to have the resources and to be able to make better decisions in regards to their money. As far as the title goes, I decided to get the title, because some people, they do get all hooked up and caught up in all the titles and, letting you into the door to be able to share the information. So when I saw the opportunity, this will open up some doors for me. That's the only reason, that I really pursued the title of becoming a certified financial education instructor. It was a very easy thing to do. I simply, took some classes and I did it in a week's time because I'm so passionate about this. And I want to make sure that if it's the accreditation that they're looking for or that I'm missing in order to get this into the right hands, I wanted to make sure that I had it. And so that's what I decided to, let me go ahead and get this certification so that it can open some more doors for me.
Absolutely. No, it's very important because, sometimes, we start with the insurance license and, we've had conversations in the past where we've talked about that and done different videos where we say, hey, look, these are the steps to just get the insurance license. But even once you get that license, that could be just the beginning, right? Because then you're going to start to bridge into certain specializations, right? So for you, you're educating individuals, you're educating businesses. You can go into a company and you can give a seminar about, financial literacy, financial awareness. And, those are the types of certifications that kind of bridge those gaps to open those doors for you. So,
Absolutely.
You would agree with that?
Absolutely. And you know what? I have to add this one, to my little name too, because I'm most proud of my recent one, which is a certified. It's actually called a registered Social Security analysis, where most people are not understanding Social Security. And so I took on that and became a registered Social Security analysis so that people can know, when should I take my retirement? When should I, take my Social Security? Most people are taking it way too early, and they're leaving way too much money on the table, but I can only speak from even my aunts and my uncles and my parents that, they took that, and most people take it because they're not educated and they didn't have a plan. And if you and I both know that if they don't have a plan, they plan to fail. So that was another certification. I love the fact that you said, because it bridges the gap, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. What was I found a lot of holes and gaps in a lot of people's plans, and Social Security was one of them. So how do I become the solution? I want to provide the solution, right? So people have these financial problems, but that I want to be able to be the solution, provide the solution for them. And I saw that Social Security was one of those areas that people were really misinformed about.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you before we, kind of go into your background and even talk about how you got into this industry. Do you feel like there's an additional value, like when you're obtaining certain certifications after you get your license, to the fact of just increasing your own awareness of what you're able to offer and speak to, right? Like,
absolutely. You always want to be in any industry. I think that you should also always consider being a student of your business, being very coachable, and being able to go higher and higher and higher. When you get your insurance license, I'm a former hairstylist, right? So I did hair for 20 years. And Rod, let me tell you something. Just because you have a license doesn't mean that you're the expert.
Right.
And in order to be the expert in this industry, you have to go after those certifications. You have to continuously take classes and get more certifications and put more and more under your belt. Because anybody can get a license, but it's the people who go the extra mile who's going to be able to really help the clients the most.
That's right. That's right. No, I'm so glad that you touched on that. It's not just about getting the license. It is about becoming an expert, really having the skill set to be able to provide that proper service, right? Because you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
And for someone who might need some assistance, there's a certain class or book or webinar or certification that you might come across that helps you to recognize an issue when it actually presents itself. So you mentioned, being a hairstylist. So that's one of the other things that we actually have in common. I come from I'm not a hairstylist, but I come from a family of cosmetologists, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody in my family, did hair. My father owned a salon for many years. My mother, my stepmom, my sisters, my aunts, everybody in my family cosmetology. My grandmother. So let me go back. I think this is a great segue just to kind of get more information on your background. Let's go all the way back to 8, 9, 10-year-old Toni Sanders. Now, I don't know if you said, hey, I'm going to be in financial services when I grow up, but what did you want to be? What was the dream when you were 8, 9, 10 years old? What did you want to be?
Well, believe it or not, we used to entertain our parents a lot, right? When their friends would come over and they would have all these house parties, we were the ones, me and my brother, we were shucking and jiving for them. We were singing and dancing. Yes. I thought I wanted to be a singer, right? And then, life changes and you grow up and you do things, but from a young girl, I knew I wanted to do hair. When my mother would go out, all her crew would come over and I would do their hair. I would do all the kids' hair in the neighborhood. I was a little girl, on the steps, braiding all the kids' hair in the neighborhood with the beads and a little foil paper. I know I might be aging myself, but let me tell you something. I knew I wanted to do hair. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I always wanted to do hair. And I pursued my dreams after, getting married and having a child. I knew that I wanted to be a business owner and an entrepreneur. I love the idea of having people feel good and look good, and it was, I always wanted to look my best because I believe that if you show up and you look good and you feel better, right? And things happen, the energy is really good. So I wanted to make people feel special. I wanted people to look good and feel good. And I just knew how it made my mom and her friends look. And so I just pursued it. And I ended up opening 2 salons, a day spa and a boutique. I did it for 20 years and I absolutely love it. And I still love it today. In my home office, I still have a chair because I do my own hair now. I still keep up with my own hair. But, that's where it all started. It started doing there. But you know what? I think the business owner and the entrepreneur, it was always inside of me. And it's funny that you asked me, did I think about, being into financial services at that time? At that time, no, I didn't. If I can be a little transparent with the audience for a minute, growing up, I was poor. I didn't know I was poor, but I was poor. I can remember, my mother had 4 kids by the age of 25, and she was doing the best that she could do. She had me at 18. And let me tell you something, that woman, she was a strong sister. She was a strong sister. And she would just work and work and work, and not knowing until now as an adult, like looking back at our lives, that, hey, we were on welfare. We had food stamps and all of those things. But I knew. I came back from a summer vacation, Rod, and the kids were talking about, oh, they take these trips and how they were going. I was like, well, when my summer break, I'm going up the road to my grandmother's house. I'm not really going very far. We're not leaving Akron, Ohio, right? But I knew from that point on that I wanted to be able to travel the world. I wanted to be able to do some things that my parents couldn't do and provide. And the only way to do that is make a good living. Now, I say that to say my mother's father, who I didn't learn till later on in life, who was my grandfather, he was actually in banking. I was like, well, wow, now this is coming full circle that he was in financial services, but I did not connect the two together. So when I was leaving the salon one day, Rod, somebody came to me, and actually 2 people in the same week. One of my clients, he said, I just want you to know that I think you'll be really good in doing insurance. Now, you and I both know, who grows up and says, oh, I want to be an insurance agent? Nobody grows up and says they want to be an insurance agent, right? But this young lady, she said that to me. And I said, are you serious? I said, it's funny that you say that because I was just introduced to an opportunity. And the rest is history. And here I am 7 years later.
Look at that. Look at that. Or as we say, look at God, as we say.
You look at God. Yeah.
All right. So when you said, when you got introduced, so you grew up, just the haircare industry, the beauty industry, like this was something that was, present, all throughout your childhood, growing into adulthood, you're running a business 20 years later. What was the opportunity that came to you where you said, I'm going to pursue this? So there was some, and help me, was there the opportunity and then someone said, hey, you ought to be in insurance? Or were they kind of right at this, or was it the person saying you should be in insurance, introducing the opportunity? How did that work?
So it was 2 different people.
Wow.
It was actually 2 different people. It was one of my clients, Stephanie Matthews. I love her still today. She was one of my very, very good clients, and she just was sitting in my chair. She said, Toni, you just have the personality for it, and I think that you would be so good. And I said, okay, I'll look into it. The neighbor across the street, or she was in the same building, but across the hallway, she was like, you know what, I have this opportunity, and I think that you would be really good. And I said, okay, well, I'm always open. I always tell people, keep an open mind. Never say no to an opportunity, because you never know where it will lead you. So Rod, I stood in the hallway with her for about 30 minutes on a Saturday, and she was telling me about this opportunity about in the financial service industry. And I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. And she showed me a picture, and I knew one of the ladies in the picture. So I called that young lady, and I said, hey, I saw a picture of you, and I want to know what you're doing now. She said, sure. I said, you're welcome to come to my house. She came over. I love what I heard about our organization, about world system builders, about how we're going to change people's lives and how people need to know about this. Now let me say this. I always believed in insurance.
Yeah.
I always believed in insurance. I even, if I can be honest, Rod, I wish that I had, something that I can go back and you guys can see. I remember having a conversation with my insurance agent back then, who is still my agent today. And you know what I told him? We should have something of what we call today as IUL. This was at a conversation that I had, but I didn't know that full circle that we would have that today.
Right. Isn't that something?
I told him we should have something like this. There should be something like this. So I understood it, and I knew we need to have it because we have insurance on everything else. And I was like, man, you know what? People are going to die. Yeah. People don't have to get their hair done. People don't have to get haircuts and do all the things, And I think the thing that really stood out to me when I made the transition, and I hope I'm not going too fast, but the reason why it made so much sense to me is when both of those ladies came to me, because right, honestly, people couldn't afford my services. There's people who go to the hair salon and they don't have any money saved, or people who go to the salon and they haven't even paid their light bill. They can't put food on the table, but they'll get their hair done, and they'll
make sure their hair get done. Yes, yes.
They're gonna make sure that hair get done. And I started to feel a certain kind of way about it, because I was a very respectable hairstylist. I was very professional, and I made an excellent living doing it. But it was something deep inside of me that said, these people don't have the money to do this. In 1 or 2 days, their hair is not going to look as pretty as it looks when they walk out of the salon.
That's right. Wow.
But I can do something that I can change their lives, that I can change their family lives for generations to come, not just for the moment. Because I was starting to figure, like, people really live for the weekend, Rod. They don't live for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted people to really take a look at a deeper look at, like, it's all just surface, you know, like, yeah, you look great, but later down 20, 30 years from now, what does that look like?
It's true. It's true. That is a really, bold stance to take. I mean, you're inside of your business saying, there's something, look, I'm successful in this business, but there's something that's still not gelling here. There's something that's still off. I mean, that's
you know why, Rod? Because it was my people.
Yeah.
I saw my people struggling, and I was steady taken from, and I was a part of that struggle. I was contributing to them, like, literally, and I have to be transparent with you. People would literally tell me, hey, I haven't even paid my bills, but I'm coming to get my hair done.
Wow.
I had a boutique, and they would buy clothes, and they would buy things. And I just started feeling a certain kind of way about that. I wanted to make sure that they were going to be okay.
That's right. Because if you're taking care of the finances and you're properly preparing yourself, then you're gonna put yourself in a position to be able to do those things that you want to do, that are those luxuries.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's amazing.